there's no school like the old school, and the headmaster is probably the 911, thanks to companies like Singer reimagining the old school cars, bringing them into the 21st century, charging north of £1 million, but keeping that analogue driving experience and that interesting shape. But you can't buy a brand new old-fashioned 911 from Porsche. This, on the other hand, is an actual Ford Escort, and it is an all-new car. And you can buy it. It's actually eligible to go racing as well. It's FIA approved, and there's going to be a road-going version of this coming in the not-too-distant future. Do you know what? Let's just drive it.
What you can hear is a 1.8 twin cam. And what I'm in is the Boreham Works Mann Racing 68. Basically a continuation, a brand new continuation car of the 68-69 championship winning touring car. And you can buy this, one of 25 that are ever going to be made, that are officially endorsed by Ford, but also have all the trade secrets in them from back in the day when they came along and absolutely whipped the competition. I'm braking because this is the Late Break Show, and I'm Jonny Smith. There's the pheasant. Shit, it's on the apex.
So Henry, I've been going to like the Goodwood Revival for probably 20 something years, and that's when I learned about Mann Racing, probably.
Yeah.
Seeing your cars racing on the track, competing a lot. So give us a brief backstory on Mann Racing.
Well, it was founded in 1964 because in those years Ford were going pretty heavy on racing globally to mount the total performance program, which was what they were doing in those days. My father was commissioned to set up a UK-based team to run their racing activities and rally activities in Europe, which was what he did. And they started with Falcons and Cortinas, and then went through the progression of Ford products of the mid-60s, GT40s, Cobras, Escorts, Mustangs, all of that sort of thing. It was very successful, and they won a lot of races and championships, and it was a glorious period for the team, and they had some fantastic drivers, fantastic cars, great engineers and mechanics. It was a really great time. And that all came to an end in 1970, really, and the team was sort of semi-dormant after that until about 2001, when Goodwood started coming along, and my dad went to those races, saw some of his old cars being run around by private owners, and the hook was set again, and he never thought about...
rekindled the fire?
Yeah, he never thought about anything else until he died, basically.
Really?
No, he went maximum attack, which was good, you know, and I was along for that ride, so here it continues now.
He raced cars before setting up Mann Racing, is that right?
Yes, he did, yeah. He'd worked for... he'd always been an enthusiast and done a bit of Grand Prix racing, in fact, early in the late 50s. And then he worked for a Ford dealer on the south coast called Andrews of Southwick, and he persuaded the owner to race some cars as a part of subsidiary of the dealership. So they did a bit of that, and that was quite successful. And
that was in Anglia. Was that
Anglia? That's right. Yeah, you know your stuff.
So that's classed as saloon car racing,
yes.
which is like early days of touring car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they were invited by Ford of America to run a Cortina GT in America, and they beat the Works Falcons with the NASCAR drivers. And
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's that amazing photo of the Cortinas being loaded into a Pan Am aeroplane.
That's right. Yeah.
And I saw that photo and went, how cool's that? So you turn up in America with Cortinas, but I don't think you could buy Cortinas in America, could you?
No, they never sold them there. No.
And you're beating actual Ford at their own game.
And that was when they gave him the job to set up Mann Racing.
So here we are in 2025, stood next to an actual Ford Escort.
Yeah.
All new.
Yeah.
Classed as a continuation race car, because there were only 6 of these made in period, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
You're going to sell 25 of them, 24 of them.
Yeah.
To be eligible for racing in the historics, it has to be completely period correct, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So
Plus modern safety. They didn't have roll cages and fire extinguishers in the day, so we've obviously done all of that, which you have to do. But other than that, mechanically, it's almost identical.
With the car warming up, we went out on track, but before I took to the wheel, Henry went out first, with me riding shotgun.
Right, let's go. Going in, corner 1. She's hanging in, she's hanging in. He's pedaling. Henry is pedaling. He's pedaling. Just forget how much grip you can get out of a solid axle.
I know.
Spooky.
It's good, isn't it?
So flat.
Yeah.
Like that.
It feels really sort of
Really solid.
slanted, yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
So run me through the spec of this, because obviously to be an eligible race car, it has to comply with all the rules. What is it? Power, etc.
It's a twin cam, and it's slightly enlarged on the bore. So it's 1845 cc, which is a bit bigger than the standard, which is what they ran in period like this. It's dry sump, which helps power and also reliability, obviously. Other than that, it's a full blood racing engine, so it's a nice steel crank and everything's balanced and lightweight and beautiful in there.
Yeah.
And it makes about 205 brake and lots of torque for a twin cam.
That is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, which is good. And you know, goes to 8.5, so it gets your attention. It's a good engine. But everything else has to be the same style of radiator. Everything you're governed by the regulations in that, and it's on Weber 45 DCOEs.
Yes. I can see the strut brace, and you were talking about the wheelbase earlier, but what about the suspension? Because this car in period had very, very special suspension.
Yes.
And of course this car has the same.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Well, the designer, Len Bailey, was also on the GT40 program, and Mann Racing had run GT40s for Ford, so there are a few GT40 components in the front suspension. This top mount here, the ball joint and various other things. I won't go into too much detail, but it is very different. There's twin strut arrangement on the front. The rack is forward, shorter. There's a tie bar on a ball joint mounted into the chassis, which controls the caster angle.
Oh my gosh.
It's very different. The engine mounts are totally unique, more Formula 2 sort of style, solid mount, just generally very complicated.
It sounds really complicated, and of course this was all done way before computer.
Yes, pen and paper, and yeah, and give it to the fabricators and make them cry.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Am I right in thinking that Mann Racing invented the bubble arch on the Escort?
I think you're right, yeah.
Because that's quite a big deal.
I know.
Isn't
I know,
it?
I
You know,
know.
because these have become as infamous as the Escort motorsport
Yeah.
car.
First performance Escort, really, I suppose these were. And to package these enormous tyres for the period, then they had to hand make some arches, which were then, you know, seen on many other Mark 1 Escorts, but in different shapes. There's a lot of detail differences between sort of the Alan Mann arch and what you can buy now, and forest arches and aluminium ones, and so it's it's kind of unique in that respect.
There is some beautiful lines to it, I have to say, at the sort of the leading in and leading out of them. But that means your wheels and your tyres are how much wider than standard?
These are 9s on the back, and I think standard was 5.5. So
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
quite a bit. The front wheel is moved 100 mil forward, 4 inches forward from standard location.
So longer wheelbase?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
And the steering rack goes through the engine cross member, so it's a very tight package. And yeah, 100 mil forward, so the arch is in a different position than the standard Escort wheel. There's also a lot of reinforcement in the chassis. There's a big cross member that goes across and one in the roof, and then there's quite a lot of differences to the body in the back to accommodate the rear suspension, and also in the front, to be fair. So it is quite wildly different from a standard Escort.
And of course, you've made this from a brand new car.
Yes.
So using modern technology, so presumably the build quality of this is way better than what it would have been in '68.
Yeah, absolutely. You can test spot welds now and they can see that they've penetrated, and the measurement is much more detailed than it would have been in the day, yeah. So it's stiffer and better quality than they had in the day, for sure.
And you guys still own one of the original Alan Mann Escorts, right? So is that your point of reference of this is the correct car?
Yes, exactly. That was the master sample basically for this project, was to use that, and we've had access to some of the other cars and paperwork and all the rest of it, but that was the physical master sample that we used, yeah.
Twin cam pornography. So predictable. That longer wheelbase and the huge J tyres. Wheels. Of course, if you're building any kind of race car, it's always going to be an exceptionally expensive pastime, especially if you want it to be competitive. So the price tag of this isn't quite as crackers as what it first seems, coupled with the fact that provenance is everything in the race car world, and I guess the provenance you're buying is the fact that it's endorsed by Ford. It's still a Ford, and it's classed as a continuation. That Ford Bullet gearbox here, quite a long throw. That gear knob on this particular one is Frank Gardner's actual gear knob from the original car. Underneath here, it's sort of effectively got the undergarments of the GT40, all the know-how from the Ford GT40, which predates the Escort. It's so much fun. These things are grin bringers, they really are. And like Henry and the mechanic said, basically, there's so many different suspension adjustments. Some drivers prefer it much softer, some prefer it much harder. With those torsion bars in the back, because the rims are only 13s in diameter for period, albeit 9J at the rear, you can't fit massive brakes. So brakes are Escort at the front, and at the back they're from a Lotus Elite apparently. Those Webers really start barking when you go in a little bit harder. You really are moving around on these Dunlop Racing cross plies. because of course sidewalls have a lot of give in them of this period. As much as I'm absolutely loving this, it's the road car that I'm, I guess, ultimately waiting for, because this is not a road car. But to be able to build a historic car of such provenance using modern build standards and all the know-how accrued from all the trade secrets, this torsion bar rear suspension setup with a 4-link Watts link, that trick front end, it's fantastic. I have a bit of form on the late break show driving these cars, it seems, by accident. I've driven the MST Mark 1 and 2, which is not an official Ford. Road cars. And I've driven Gordon Murray himself's own personal Escort twin cam, built by Retro Power, and that was very special indeed. This is a different beast to that, because this is an out-and-out period competition car, and there's no real point in buying this unless you're going to compete. Up to 8. What you're buying really is a package. You can either go racing, and our Mann Racing will support you and make you become a competitive driver. That straight gun gearbox is so loud. I'm getting the hang of it now. It's starting to feel, starting to gel.
So the back end of the car here, so are there any differences to what there would have been in period? You've got that amazing cut-off switch in its sort of collar.
Yeah, that was correct, although it's no longer functional because you have to run FIA master switch these days. But we left it because it's a sort of key visual
It's quite
feature.
a big visual part of the back of the car, isn't it? Yeah. The rear suspension on, I mean, they're all solid axle, aren't they, Escorts?
Yeah.
And I know that over the years, reviewing them and talking to people about rally cars, race cars, resto mods, they were, what were they originally, a 2-link?
Originally it was a leaf spring.
A leaf spring, and then
So
they
no
went,
links.
there were no links, and then they went 4-link for competition.
That's right. This is a 4-link with a Watts linkage, yeah.
Right.
So the 4-link controls fore and aft, and the Watts linkage controls lateral movement.
Right,
yeah.
right.
It's very adjustable. Everything's all rose jointed, so you can tilt the axle with the 4-link, and you can adjust the Watts linkage. It's an early version of what they sort of still run today, more or less.
Yeah. Suspension.
Yes.
The springs and that sort of thing.
It's torsion bars actually. The back of this.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. They experimented with coil sprung setup, but found torsion bars was more successful in the day. So it's got a twin torsion bar arrangement with totally custom splines and arms. And
oh my gosh, there is a lot going on in here.
Yeah, there is.
There is a lot.
Yeah.
So in here we've got a very interesting looking pedal box arrangement. Brake and the throttle being really close, and that is as was.
Yes, as Frank Gardner drove it in the 60s. It's an early arrangement with integrated master cylinders in the pedal box, and it's modified because the steering column goes through between.
That's what I was looking at. I was thinking, I don't remember it looking like that period, and you've got a really nice dish steering wheel.
Yes.
What else is different here? I mean, obviously these seats are, I mean, they're very thin. Are they carbon?
No, they're GRP.
Yeah. So you've got those, and then you've got the original, like the very simple kind of switch.
Yeah. It's a direct replica of the original switch panel, except you've got to have slightly different switches now because there are more requirements, rain light and fire extinguisher, which they didn't have.
Yeah.
But the dash layout, all the warning lights, everything is all very correct.
It's fantastic to talk to Henry about the company that he took on from his dad and what his dad laid the foundations for. Being such a pioneer with Mustangs, Cobras, Fairlanes, Cortinas, Escorts, you name it. There's so much Ford wizardry. I'm loving it. The fact that in 2025 you can buy a brand new Escort with a Ford badge on it, that Ford are happy to give their consent to, and the fact that historic car racing is in rude health should lay rest to all the claims that, you know, that racing's dead. Interest in car racing's not dead. So if you order one of these, please, for everybody's sake, take it racing. Let people see it. Let people hear it. Price tag starts at 300,000 quid. But of course, that's the value of a what you'd call continuation car. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Boreham Works AMR 68, which I'm very, very, very grateful for having a go in on the track here in Cumbria. And what a driving experience. There's no doubt in the engagement of this thing. Compare the price of this and the escalating price of whether you want a race package, go racing with Alan Mann mechanics and all that kind of thing. Racing's expensive. Building any race car is not cheap at all. But suddenly, when you start to do the maths, this is not quite as mad as what it first appeared. And let it warm down. Ultimately, that's the thing about cars, isn't it? I truly feel that nostalgic racing, historic motorsport, is only going to grow in interest and enthusiasm. Not just because of companies like this bringing back the masters of the old, but with better manufacturing techniques, tolerances, oils, but also the fact that these cars, they just engage you a bit more, they reel you in, and it's not just about out and out speed, although there is some, clearly. It's about fun. These things have got to be fun. If they're not fun, why are we doing it? And when you get in a twin cam like this, and there's a bombardment of sound on the sensors, that straight cut gearbox, the 45 Webers, it's hard not to be. It's hard not to be completely taken in and intoxicated. And I don't drive stuff on the track very often on the Late Break Show, but I hope you've enjoyed that very much, because I bloody have.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that spending £300,000+ on what looks like an old Escort is a fantastic idea. But you've got to consider this. As I said in the intro, there's companies doing all manner of wild things to Porsches. The prices are escalating. And the other thing is so many modern cars aren't that interesting. So many modern cars are powerful, but they're physically big and they're physically heavy, and you just can't really use them anywhere. Now look, this thing here, this combines two things that interest me, analog driving, but also great storytelling. The backstory of this car and the legacy that it's continuing on from Mann Racing is just a wonderful thing. And all that innovation is in a turnkey package. If you're one of the 24 people that can buy this, happy days. But for me, what comes after this is going to be even more exciting, because Boreham Works are going to be making a road car of the Escort Mk1 RS with the Ford badge on, with the consent like this from Ford Motor Company. And I think that shows where our enthusiasts car world is going. Brand new, old-ish cars. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Late Break Show, and if you'd like me to do more stuff on track, let me know. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd love you to subscribe, and if you want to support us via Patreon, go to a link in our description and you can support us from a couple of quid a month, get early access to videos like this one, and also weekly blogs behind the scenes from yours truly. Oh, and we've got merch, Late Break Show merch. There's a link in the description. Thanks.